Hello, everyone, and welcome to Game Pass Give It a Goes, the series where I try out the latest Game Pass releases for about an hour and then give you guys my first impressions. Today, we're going to be talking about Starfield. Now, this is a game that I was really excited for. Fallout 3 is one of my favorite games of all time, and I'm glad to have a new release in a game like that from Bethesda ever since Skyrim came out over a decade ago. Now, I just now played this game because I was not about to pay $35 to get early access. I don't pre-order games, and even though there's some stuff that comes with it, like cosmetics and the first DLC that's coming out, there's no way I'm going to be paying $35 to get like 5 days early access. So that kind of rubbed me the wrong way, but the game's out now, so let's go ahead and discuss it. Starting off, the story, I went into it pretty blind. To quickly sum it up, and no spoilers because it's I've only played it for an hour, so I am incapable of spoiling anything beyond that. Basically, you start off, you're a miner mining caves underground, and you come across this artifact that gives you a vision, and then people come in, and there's a group called the Constellation that's kind of studying stuff like this, and they want you to come visit them and be able to learn more about this. So that's basically the whole premise of it, and not a whole lot so far, but I do think that there is potential with story in how you play your character, because during character creation, you choose your backstory, which I feel like is generally kind of something that's like very forgettable, just kind of like in the background, and you get your starting stats, and then you move on and completely forget about it. But in this game, there's actually a surprising variety of options to choose from. You can go be a xenobiologist, be like a researcher, there's a few different variations of that. Then you can be like a soldier, a bounty hunter, and the one I chose was Cyber Runner, which I was not expecting to see in this game. But basically, having a background of hacking into systems and stealing stuff from big corporations or for corporations, and it does like as you choose the different backgrounds, it determines like your three starting skills or kind of like what skills you specialize in. For Cyber Runner, it gives you thieving, um, lockpicking, and stealth. So all stuff that I was interested in. The thieving kind of like the least interested of of all of them. But when I play an RPG, I like having access to be able to get into any area. So hacking systems, picking locks, and sneaking past people. That's definitely what I'm looking for. And I'm glad that there's a background that has those stats and also has an interesting flavor to the theme of it that I really enjoy. So I felt like that part was done pretty well. The rest of the character creation, you make your character design their appearance. It's a bit similar to Fallout 4. I felt like there's sliders and more options, but I kind of felt like it was a similar convenience to use as the Fallout 4 character customizer. And so turned out okay. Sometimes when they give me sliders, it ends up looking like abominations. I don't know what slider to adjust just so to make it not look like a monster, but this game didn't turn out too bad. Now, getting into the game, you start off, the dialogue I think is pretty good, talking with characters. I've heard complaints about the facial animations. They don't seem too bad, they seem like they have room for improvement, or it could be nicer, but I didn't feel like it was really a low point of the game that was really distracting, taking me out of it. And as we went on, I was kind of getting nervous. It was about 45 minutes in, and about 30 minutes of that was intro and then character customization. And so I kind of felt like the first hour of the game, I'm not going to have a lot to talk about, and I'd have to play more of it to really get into the meat of the game to speak on it. Because it felt like it was just dialogue and kind of exposition of this happens, talk with this person, and then now this person comes in, talk with them. And I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna be able to talk about anything in the game other than just the conversations. And as I was thinking that, some pirates come in and you grab a gun and start fighting back. So right as I was thinking it's gonna be quite a while before we get into any action, action came right to us. And the gunplay in this game, that's going to be something that's really important because you're definitely going to be spending a lot of time doing that. And I feel like it's pretty good. I felt like it was very comparable to Wolfenstein, the newer games that just came out like within the last like 5 years or so. So if you enjoyed those games, I think you'll be pretty set here. And if you didn't really enjoy the gameplay, the feel of those games, then you might have a little bit of a similar issue with this one. But for me, I felt like it was pretty good and something that I look forward to continuing to play. But overall, I gotta say, I think the game, it still kind of feels like it's picking up. Like it's still showing you things and it's kind of like moving forward. It doesn't feel like you're in the middle of it now and it's like, all right, this is what it's going to be like for the rest of the time. But I feel like what I've seen so far, I'm looking forward and I'm excited to play more of it. It seems like there's a lot of potential. I don't think there's like the setting of Fallout, I think is one of my favorites. I think it's going to be very hard to top that. In this game, I don't feel like it has as unique of a concept as that. I don't feel like there's any moment as like stepping out into the wasteland for the first time. But when you get your ship and you land and you get up from your seat and you walk outside and see the planet, like the landscape of the new planet you're on, it was pretty impressive. The space combat, I felt like it was pretty good. Actually controlling the energy assignment while fighting ships in space. I thought was pretty interesting and looking forward to doing more of that and just kind of getting better at multitasking that because the option to be able to lower the shields and then raise the weapons dynamically when you need it in the moment definitely sounds like something that'd be interesting, although feels like no matter how good you get, that's going to be a little bit tedious. But I like that there's the options there, and it doesn't feel like there's a low skill ceiling that you're like, okay, this is the most I can do, and now I'm just waiting. It feels like you always have something to do that you're not just sitting there waiting during combat. The environments are very meticulously detailed. Like playing Fallout 3, just being able to pick up all these little bits and pieces around the world. I feel like this is like the next generation of that. It feels more detailed. There's a lot of objects. I don't feel like I've been seeing the same thing all just copy pasted throughout a room. I went into like a research lab that you come across that very, within the first hour of the game, of course. And it felt like there's quite a variety of items, and a lot of them were tailored to the actual environment that I was in. And even as you're going through, you can see a dartboard and you can loot the individual darts off the board. So it felt like it was pretty immersive. Also, the lockpicking game in this game seems pretty interesting. I'm liking it so far, and I don't want to spend too much time getting into it without visuals. It's kind of hard to explain. But I feel like Fallout 3, the Fallout games in general, the hacking where you choose the keywords, sometimes it just felt like even if you do everything right, you can't solve it just because you got bad luck with how many actual letters matched up. In this one, I can kind of see that happening, but I feel like there's enough that you can kind of conclusively decide if you're doing it correctly or not. Basically, you just kind of want to check, like, okay, do these two keys match up with this circle? And if so, you're probably set. So I'm liking that and looking forward to doing more of that. I tried recording gameplay of it, and for some reason, OBS and Starfield did not want to run at the same time. So despite the issues with it crashing while recording with OBS, once I was running the game by itself, it was running really smoothly. It didn't feel like there's any performance or optimization issues. It was running really smoothly, felt good. The only issue where it kind of felt a little off is that when you're in the ship, you move the crosshair to kind of like aim around, and the reticle moving, it doesn't feel like it's smooth. Like it feels like the frame rate's lower and it's kind of like teleporting around the screen. That's not like sliding and moving around. It's just kind of like appearing different places. So that was the only thing that kind of like felt a little bit off. But otherwise, technically, it's running really well. And to kind of get into the negatives a little bit, I had seen a lot of complaints or people having issues that the exploration of the world, it's not just you can get in the ship, fly into space, and then go to another planet and then land there. It's all kind of like fast travel. Which when I saw those issues, I was kind of like, I feel like that's fine. Like I don't want to spend a lot of time in space and the ship just like flying in a straight line towards the destination. So I think fast travel is going to be a bit more convenient and would definitely prefer that. But while playing it, it did feel a bit weird that when you're in the ship, it'll show on the screen waypoints of different planets that you can visit. But when you look at them in the ship, it doesn't mean anything because you can't like fly towards it or say like, all right, I want to go to this planet. There's the waypoint for it. You still have to go into the map and then click on it and then fast travel to it. So it just kind of feels like like I kind of expected that. It's like when you're in the ship, it's kind of like a little bit of a bubble that you can't like go between places, but you can't even like select. It's not even like it's a menu that you can navigate. It just kind of shows it to you, but then to actually get there, it's a completely different process. I think what I've been better at least is to be able to choose where you want to fast travel to from your ship while you're flying in space. To just look at a planet and go, hey, I want to go there. Because you'll see like a planet that you're in the atmosphere of that's really huge. But even looking at it, you can't say like, okay, I want to actually travel to that planet. You have to go into the menu and then choose it. So that part did feel a bit weird and just like missed potential. But overall, I feel like the game's pretty good. And yeah, I think that was kind of the only area that I was like, yeah, I think they should have changed this. Within the first hour, I felt like they did a pretty good job that I can definitely see it taking a long time to get started, and the first hour is very slow. But in the first hour, you get to talk with people, you get to do some gunplay, you get your own ship, you get to fly around, learn the controls, and then fight some pirates in space, and then get to a actual like building and loot around, fight some pirates a little bit. So I felt like for the first hour, it was pretty not exactly fast paced, but like encompassing experience. It's not just the first hour you get like to see two systems of the game and that's it. The rest of it it's gonna be down the road. I felt like you get a pretty good comprehensive overview of the game within that first hour. And so I don't feel like this is one that's an asterisk of the recommendation of like, yeah, you should play it. It's gonna take a while though. If you're willing to put in 3 hours, then it starts to pay off. I feel like within the first hour, you can have some fun, get a good idea of whether this game's for you or not. And so I would definitely recommend it. If you're not a fan of like Fallout 3 or Skyrim, that's just not your thing. I don't think this is going to change your mind on it. But if you're a fan of those games, I think this one's definitely worth a shot. And with Game Pass, even though it's a pretty large download, I think it's about 120 gigabytes, sometimes that is a factor that I'm like, if you just want to try this game out, but it takes 100 gigabytes to download, maybe it's not worth it. I feel like this one, there's so much potential, and I'm looking forward to that despite the size, I'd still give this a recommendation. So hopefully that gives you a good idea of whether this game's for you or not. If you'd like to see more of my Game Pass give it a go's first impressions, feel free to subscribe or look through my past videos in the playlist linked below. By the way, thanks for watching. I truly appreciate it. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Not last the day, and then you call me, and it's not so bad, it's not so bad.